Hey, this message is for my evangelical brothers. I have an important message about this presidential election coming up. I've been preaching to my Catholic brothers and sisters a lot about this, but this is specifically for my evangelical brothers and sisters who I was once identified as one for 30 years. We can debate doctrine and scripture later. Right now, we got to brace each other, arm to arm, and win this fight for the presidency of the United States. Now, I just want to go over a couple statistics and what I'm a little worried about this time around. Evangelical Christians make up 41 million Americans. They say that's like 22% of the vote. 75% are registered. Out of those, only 60% vote. And this election, a lot of evangelicals, like millions, say they're not going to vote. And this election is going to be decided by thousands in Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. Thousands. If Trump wins one of those, he wins. And he's only going to win each one by thousands. So this is, you see the importance. So I'm going to dive into the statistics and tell you why these millions are saying they're not voting, and why I'm going to encourage them, if they're not registered, to register, and if they don't plan on voting, the importance of voting. So they say 82% voted for Trump last time, 82% of white evangelicals. But then they give you 86% black Protestants voted for Biden. So, there's a lot of Protestants that don't consider themselves evangelical, like mainline, old school Protestants, Methodist, Presbyterian, Lutheran. So I don't know where the breakup is, because, I always get on my Catholic brothers and sisters' case because they say only 52% of Catholics voted for Trump. However, 62%, 10% higher, of white Catholics voted for Trump. So the majority of Catholics, a big majority of white Catholics. But what brings it down is, for some reason, 85% of black Catholics voted for Biden. And it's shaping up the same way this time around for Kamala. So I'm going to address black Christians at the end of this. But right now, I want to talk to those that would normally vote pro-life, would normally vote Trump, and why they're just going to stay home. They don't think either one of them deserve their vote. And I'm going to tell you why I think it is. So I always give my evangelical brothers and sisters props, because they usually get out and vote, and they usually vote pro-life. And I try and encourage my Catholic brothers and sisters to do the same thing. I think the difference is, Protestant evangelical pastors will tell you straight out of the pulpit, and talk to you, one-on-one, hey, we got to vote for Trump. Where the Catholic Church will tell you how to form your conscience and vote according to your personal convictions, based on Catholic teaching, which is pro-life, pro-traditional marriage, and they assume you will make the right choice. But when it comes to abortion, they're straight with that. The United States Conference of Catholic Bishops, this election and the last election, has said that abortion is the preeminent, the most important issue. And in Florida, we have Amendment 4, which the pro-abortion Democrats are, if they get this passed, if the yeses outvote the noes, if they get this passed, there'll be no restriction, no age limit minimum, for the baby in the womb or the girl getting the abortion. No parental permission. They can just, a little 12-year-old girl, 13-year-old girl, 14-year-old girl could go get an abortion, and parents wouldn't even know. The Catholic Church in Florida is spending, I think now it's up to like $1 million to try and get people to vote no. And I've heard priests come out and say, it's a mortal sin. It's a mortal sin to vote yes on Amendment 4. And it would also be a mortal sin not to vote at all. Voting yes would be a worse sin because it would be a sin of commission. Not voting at all on this moral issue would be a sin, but it would be a sin of omission, which is a little less severe, but there would both be mortal sins because you wouldn't be stopping the murder of unborn children. And unless you're a complete science denier that's never seen an ultrasound, it hasn't taken basic biology, you know that is a baby in the womb. Maybe in the 60s, they got away with saying it's not a baby, but now we know for a fact it's a human being. So, but I've done enough videos trying to convince my Catholic brothers and sisters how to vote. This one is for my evangelical brothers and sisters. So, what I'm hearing is they don't want to vote for Trump because he's not going to have a federal ban. But the opposite would be, if you don't vote, it's just like people that vote third party. It's the stupidest thing in the world. You know, and I know I'm going to offend a lot of people, but I'm just telling you, from a political nerd my whole life, the third party never wins. Never wins. All you're doing is taking votes away from the person you would have voted for. So if you would have voted for Trump and you're going to vote for a third party because Trump disappointed you, then you're voting for Kamala. Because Kamala has stated she wants no restrictions on abortions. And if she gets the Senate on her side, they were already promised, Schumer, all these people, they promised they'll end the filibuster and they'll sign a bill banning restrictions. This would be a federal ban on restrictions. Never mind a federal ban on abortion. These people are telling you what they're going to do. They're going to put a federal ban on any restrictions, which means just like in California, Minnesota, and in New York and New Jersey, you'll be able to have an abortion through the 9th month, and nobody can tell you no, not even your own parent. This is what these radical, extreme leftists want. So I don't see how you can't see the big difference there. Also, people go by, I don't like what he said. I don't like what he said. Don't listen to what he says. Look what he did. He was the most pro-life president we ever had. George W. Bush spoke like a great evangelical. He knew all the right things to say. The Lord saved him. He was an alcoholic. He used to quote scripture. He sounded like a guy in my Bible study. And he was pro-life. But when he had opportunity, his first opportunity to put a Supreme Court justice, his first pick was Harriet Miers. She was a pro-abortion liberal. But he was friends with her. That was his personal lawyer. Luckily, the conservatives in the Senate knocked her out of committee. And then we got Alito, praise God. I believe it was Alito. Could be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure it was Alito. So maybe Trump don't talk like us, but look what he did. He said he was going to give us 2. His exact words, I remember hearing this. And this was at the point I was voting Rubio. In 2016, I was Rubio, sold out until Rubio dropped off and I jumped to Cruz. Trump was my last resort because the worst Republican is 100 times better than the best Democrat when it comes to traditional Christian values. So I pulled the lever for Trump, and he did not disappoint me. He oversold. He said, so when I was voting for Rubio, I heard him say, and I was like skeptical, yeah, right. He said, I'm going to appoint 2, maybe 3 Supreme Court justices, and they're all going to be originalist judges, and they'll overturn Roe v. Wade. And he said it like matter of fact, like it's going to happen. And it happened. Promise made, promise kept. Not only that, I had Dr. Alan Keyes, if you remember, he ran for president years ago. I had him on a segment I do, Blue Collar and a Scholar. He's got like a PhD in political science from Harvard. I think he was a professor there for a short time. He ran for president a couple times. He was a close advisor and friend to Ronald Reagan. Yes, Ronaldus Magnus. He was close friends with him. And he said, he was actually the author, Alan Keyes, who I was speaking to, great guy. He was actually the author of the Mexico City bill, or the Mexico City law. And it was called Mexico City because that's where they met. And then they came up with this agreement. And the Mexico City agreement banned abortion overseas using American taxpayers' money. And he said the liberal media, Reagan was Trump before Trump. I mean, there's more media now because of cable news and stuff, but the big three, the same liberal big three today, ABC, NBC, CBS, made Trump to be like, they used to call him a Nazi, a dictator, a fascist, a warmonger, racist, an adulterer. Everything they're calling Trump, they always go to the same playbook because they can't beat us on the issues and ideas, so they have to just destroy our character. But anyway, this agreement said that Americans will not pay for abortions overseas, not a penny. And so the media made it sound like the world was mad at us. And Dr. Alan Key said he had so many leaders, especially of Muslim nations, came up to him and said, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Like they were happy. So, of course, ever since then, it's flip-flopping. When a Democrat comes in, they rescind it. When a Democrat comes in, they rescind it. Clinton rescinds it. Then Bush comes in, puts it back. Then Obama comes in, takes it out. Then Trump came in and put it back. And what Dr. Alan Keyes said was, all these bureaucrats, these lifelong bureaucrats that have been in Washington for 50 years, they always find loopholes for everything. And they found so many loopholes that there were abortions. We were paying for taxpayer abortions overseas, but Donald Trump made an ironclad and quadrupled it, expanded it to, I think it was $700 million that we wouldn't spend on abortions, and he made it $7 trillion, something like that. Not 7 trillion. Maybe it was 70 billion and went to 700 billion that we, given over, foreign aid that couldn't be used. Basically, he said he made it impossible. Donald Trump made it impossible for 1 penny of taxpayers' dollars, taxpayers' money to pay for an abortion overseas. Well, of course, Biden is allowing it now. He rescinded that Mexico City agreement. Kamala will leave it, rescind it. Trump will put it back into effect. Also, Trump defunded Planned Parenthood. We can't fully defund it because there's states that give money, but as far as the federal government, he defunded it. He said he'll defund it again. Kamala Harris is not only going to fund it, she's going to give it more funds. So on the issue of abortion, they're like, well, he said he's for that abortion pill. Well, it's all talk. There's nothing he can do about that. It's got to go through Congress and stuff. So these are IVF. These are all talking issues that will never get through Congress. So they're just talking points. But the real things he can do something about, he's done. So that's one issue. But then there's the issue of boys playing in girl sports. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris supported, and Biden signed, he signed it, I guess an executive order to force schools, it's called Title IX, and feminists fought for the right, it's like the left eats the left. Feminists fought for a right to give women and girls equal access to sports as boys get. And so for every boy sport, there has to be a girl sport, It's called Title IX. Well, Biden signed in the law, and Kamala supports it, and she'll keep it, this law. Trump will change it, that boys that say they're girls can play in girl sports. This is sick. Not only that, it gets even more disgusting. They're allowed to go into little girls' locker rooms. And I told the story about Riley Gaines. She spent her whole life trying to be a national college champion in college, and she got beat out by a 6'4", 250-pound man named Leela Thomas, I think. But that's not the worst of it. People booed when he got the gold medal for the national championship because they knew it was unfair. For 3 years in college, his freshman, sophomore, and junior year, he swam as a man in collegiate, NCAA at the highest level. And then his last year, he all he did was grow his hair and paint his nails. Didn't have anything else done. So this big, strong man decided he's going to swim as a girl to win the championship. But as disgusting as that is, Riley Gaines tells an even more disgusting story. And if you got little kids, please take them away. She said no one told the girls about this. So she's getting dressed and she said, for speed, all you wear is this skin tight bathing suit, no underwear, no, skin tight. So these girls are completely naked. And she said it literally takes like 10 minutes to pull their bathing suit bottoms up because they're like skin tight. And she turns around, pulling them up. And this 250-pound man who identifies as a girl with a full package, everything, completely naked, is 2 feet away from her. In a normal society, not run by leftist Democrats, this would be called sexual harassment. This kid would have been arrested. But when she complained, she was called a bigot by the left-wing professors in her college. She was booed off a stage when she talked about it at one of these left-wing Ivy League schools. This is sick. And the same thing is happening with little girls at middle school. Little boys are coming in. So Trump said he will ban that. He will make it illegal for that to happen. He will make it illegal for that to happen. Also, the Biden-Harris administration, and Harris says she's all for this, is they support children, minors, getting sex change operations. And not only that, Kamala thinks Tim Walz has a great bill. He made Minnesota, her VP, Tim Walz, made Minnesota a sanctuary state for transgenderism, minors. So it means if you're in a state that don't allow minors, like I think South Dakota, Governor Noem won't allow it. If you're a minor, you can't get a sex change. You can come to his state and get a sex change. And even if your parents disagree, they'll protect you. That's what sanctuary states do. That's why this is the ridiculous of the Democrats. This is why New York City is a mess, because it was a sanctuary city for immigrants. So you get an immigrant that's a murderer, they won't turn you over to the police. So they have all these murderers just running around freely in New York City. So, Governor DeSantis and Governor Abbott said, okay, you guys want it to be a sanctuary city, we'll ship some of ours up there. And now they don't know what to do. So imagine a sanctuary city, and in Tim Walz's bill that he signed, the courts can interject and take the child away from the parent. So say you live in Minnesota and you say, I don't want my child to have a sex change. All your kid got to do, and most of this is a mental illness to think you're something that you're not. It's a mental illness. So these kids with mental illness, all they got to do is go to a judge and say, I want a sex change, my mom won't let me. And they will take you away from your mother, put you in foster care, and have that sex change operation. And there's thousands of grown-ups that are so depressed they're committing suicide because they realized they made a mistake when they were a kid. You're not even allowed to get a tattoo until you're grown up, until you're 18. You can't even get your ears pierced in most states until you're 18. But yet, they're going to let these doctors mutilate these boys and girls. Kamala Harris is all in on this. All in on this. And then, as bad as these are, the worst thing that Kamala is going to do, she's already said she thinks the First Amendment has gone too far. Freedom of speech and freedom of religion. We had a Catholic judge get scolded by her when she was senator because he says, you belong to the Knights of Columbus. They're anti-abortion and they're anti-gay marriage. And he said, well, they just promote the beliefs of our church, the Catholic Church. That's all it is. What you're saying is what the Catholic Church teaches. She said, well, if you believe that, if you belong to any organization that supports that, you're disqualified from being a judge. I'm voting against you. So she's going to discriminate against Christians who practice their faith. It's okay to be a Christian like Joe Biden, Catholic in name only, but it's not okay to be a Christian who follows your faith. Not only that, she said, and Walz has said this recently too, that Americans should have their privilege of free speech taken away if they use it for hate speech or misinformation. Number one, who decides misinformation? Because you believe something that I don't believe, that I believe, and you think it's not true, you're going to censor me? No, that's not freedom of speech, number one. Number two, it's not a privilege, it's a right. And this is where Democrats get it wrong from their foundation. They think the government gives us rights. No, we get our rights from God. That's what a republic is. That's the difference between a republic and a democracy. You could vote 99 to 1% against my right, but you can't take it away because it's a God-given right. And what are those rights? The right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Freedom of speech is a right. And you see, they're already doing it. The Biden administration did it. Was he just put so much pressure on all the Facebook and Twitter and all that, and those guys they wanted him to win anyway, so they went along with it. We know the CIA paid Facebook like $200 million to suppress news they told them was disinformation, and we found out it was true later on. So they're already doing it with social media without government technically restricting it. But Kamala, however you say her name, and Tim Walz think the government has the right to literally imprison you if you have hate speech, if you say disinformation, which is basically something they disagree with. And you see where that goes in Canada and in Europe. If you're a pro-life Christian and you say abortion's a sin, they will say that's hate speech. If you say homosexuality is a sin, they'll say that's hate speech. They might even take this video off of YouTube. A lot of people, like professional YouTubers that do this for the money, won't even say abortion. I heard Taylor Marshall, when he talks about abortion, he does this. I'm like, why is he does like a little girly cheer. The A, the B, to the O. Like he won't say, he spells it out. But, because they'll probably demonetize it so I won't get paid for the video. But as long as they don't take me off the platform, I don't give a crap. But, so if we don't have the freedom of speech, we can't change minds. See, because what Trump did was, he brought it back to the states. And in Florida, we voted for a great, strong pro-life governor who put a 6-week ban. But there's still a lot of abortions. There's still, people are like, how? It's just, so we got to get it to a total ban is the hope down here. But now it's on us. But how are we going to do it if we can't have free speech? This is why they're trying to suppress our speech. We need to educate people where they will vote for a complete ban. Now it's up to us. It's at our level. We need our pastors preaching it, our priests preaching it. But most importantly, us Christians, the soldiers, the privates, the grunts on the ground, man to man, woman to woman, explaining the science, showing in the scriptures. I mean, we have morality on our side and we have science on our side. It's an easy argument if you're patient and know the facts. But if you don't vote, that's a vote for Harris, what us Catholics call a sin of omission. And if you vote for Harris, it's a sin of commission, And I think some of these, I'm going to address the black Christians, Catholic Christians, and Protestant Christians that vote for Harris. But I think a lot of these people that won't vote for Trump will say, well, there's more than abortion. I think the issues I laid out are the most important issues. If you look at it from a biblical point of view, a Christian worldview, but there's other issues that are important too, and the people say, well, I'm in the inner city. I see the poor, we need to help the poor. Amen. But what's going to help a poor man better? If you give him a fish, and then he's depending on you. Oh, man, I hope he comes back tomorrow with that fish. Oh, man, he's making me wait 3 days for another fish. Or if you teach the man how to fish, Republicans will give you the fish, but we're going to teach you how to fish, and then we're going to stock all the ponds with fish so you know where to go. And the way we do this is we empower people to work, and they make it where they make more money working. Put jobs, these were opportunity zones that Trump set up where he cut taxes and regulations so job creators would open their businesses in poor neighborhoods, and it worked. Black unemployment was the lowest in history under Donald Trump. It worked. So we all want to help the poor. But what's the greatest tool to get out of poverty? Education. The Democrats want to lock you into their system. They don't want you to leave their little system, where the Republicans are offering choice, school choice. So if your kid is in a poor, failing school, we want to give him a voucher that he can go to any school. He can go to that rich white school across town. He can go to a good private school. He can go to a good Christian school, Catholic school, Muslim school. It's your choice. It's called school choice. We have this in Florida, and it's awesome. My kids at homeschool get like a $6,000 grant every year to buy homeschool supplies and computers for their kids. If they want, they can send their kid to any Catholic school, and the government will pay for it. It's called school choice. But Democrats don't want to empower you. They want to keep you enslaved. They really do. They really do. And this is why it was a Republican president who ended slavery. This is why it was Republicans that voted for the Civil Rights Act. And the Democrats, Al Gore's father, one of them, filibustered it. And Robert Byrd filibustered it. And if you don't know who Robert Byrd is, Robert Byrd was a KKK Grand Kleagle. And so, of course, he was a popular Democrat, because if you don't know, the Democrat Party, when they lost the Civil War, created the KKK to suppress the blacks. And they also wanted gun control laws to get guns out of the blacks' hands. That's why they started gun control. They don't want to have these people with guns, and they don't want to have these people empowered, and they don't want them educated. So they're doing everything to keep them down. So Robert Byrd's Grand Kleagle of the KKK, in fact, in his memoir, he bragged that he recruited 150 of his racist friends to create a new KKK chapter in West Virginia. So that made him popular amongst the Democrats. But this ain't ancient history. He was the president of the Democrat Senate. He was a Senate president. He was majority leader when they were in the majority, and he was minority leader when they were in the minority, like Chuck Schumer is. This isn't ancient history. This man was still a senator when he retired in 2010, and Joe Biden eulogized him and said, "He was my mentor, and I admired him greatly." Robert Byrd, KKK, Joe Biden's buddy. This is the history of the Democrat Party. And this is the reason they love abortion so much. You see, Margaret Sanger, the founder of Planned Parenthood, or some people call it Planned Parenthood, Margaret Sanger said her motivation to starting Planned Parenthood was to eliminate the black race. Well, she called them the Negro race back then. She said Negroes are like weeds and they must be exterminated. And she said, the way we're going to do this, we're going to put my clinics in black neighborhoods, and we're going to recruit black leaders that are, reverends and politicians, and we're going to pay them off so they will convince the black woman the best thing they can do is kill their babies. That would be the best thing for their family. That would help them financially. And what is the result? Today, 2024, 90% of Planned Parenthood clinics are in black neighborhoods. And in New York City, more black babies are aborted every year than are born. The black race is the only race whose population is going down in America. The only minority race that is going down. And you say, well, I thought they want the black vote. Why would they eliminate it? Because they're racist and they're thinking they're going to get the vote from all the illegal immigrants they're allowing in. Nancy Pelosi said that on Bill Maher a couple weeks ago. Their plan is to get all these guys legal so they can vote. This is their plan. So the Democrats are no friend of yours. And if this surprises you, it shouldn't. Because St. Paul says, even the devil comes as an angel of light. So why should it surprise you that his servants come as righteous men? It shouldn't surprise you. So I'm going to tell my evangelical brothers, if you are not registered, you need to register, and then you need to vote, and you need to find out when early voting starts and vote early, because you can see with this weather, hurricanes, snowstorms, wherever you live, something can happen on election day. You need to vote as soon as you can, because lives depend on it. Unborn children's lives, and all these wars. That's another thing. People say, oh, well, Trump's a warmonger. No, there was peace. Trump signed 4 peace deals in the Middle East. There was no wars because he understood He understood what needed to be done. Russia would have never, and all the experts on both sides, liberals and Democrats and Republicans, say, yeah, if Trump was president, Russia would have never invaded Ukraine, and Iran would have never attacked Israel through their proxies, Hezbollah and Hamas. It would have never happened. Blessed are the peacemakers. Trump was a peacemaker. He made 4 peace deals in the Middle East. If he was a Democrat, he'd have been Time Man of the Year. He would have won Nobel Peace Prize. He'd have been, Mahatma Gandhi to the Democrats. But because he's a Republican, they kind of poo-pooed it and really didn't hear a lot of news about that stuff. So this race is close. It's going to be decided by thousands of votes in Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin. The good news is Trump only has to win one of them, and they're neck and neck. So if all my evangelical brothers register and vote for Trump, we win hands down. If all my Catholic brothers and sisters register and vote, and all my evangelical, if every Christian in America would vote pro-life this election, pro-traditional family mat, if all Christians would vote for Trump, it would be a blowout. It would be a blowout. And I think this is possible, because all things are possible with them who believe. And I believe that every Christian wants to do what God wants them to do. And if they really prayed about this and looked at the issue, they would vote pro-life. Now, of course, like the late Keith Green used to say, going to church doesn't make you a Christian any more than going to McDonald's makes you a hamburger. So, not everyone who says they're a Christian is a Christian. I know that. But I believe there's good Christian men and women, both Catholic Christians and Protestant and evangelical Christians, that for some reason won't vote for Trump. You got to get over that. We don't vote personality because only God knows their heart. We vote policies. We see how his policies affected us, and we see how Biden's policies affected us. Biden's policies are crushing the poor. They're crushing the middle class. They're crushing me. I'm living paycheck to paycheck again. I have to decide, do I fill up my tank or do I buy a little more food? I mean, this is the reality. This is Biden, and it's just as me. I work my butt off, and I know a lot of men like me. They work hard every day, but Biden is just killing us. They're just killing us. And everything he did was predictable. When he spent trillions of dollars, even Obama's Treasury Secretary Larry Summers, who's he's a liberal Democrat, said this bill is going to cause hyperinflation, and it did. Trump said they're banning all this oil drilling and putting all these restrictions on banks that finance. He said it's going to raise oil prices, and that's going to affect inflation. Right now I'm a delivery guy. I'm not driving a tractor trailer, but in the past I've driven tractor trailers. I deliver milk. Everything moves with a truck. So as gas prices go up, as diesel fuel goes up, everything else goes up. So you add the price of all the oil that went up because of Biden's war on fossil fuel, his ridiculous spending that was wasteful spending. There's really nothing to show for. And this is why we have inflation. And if you care about the poor, the best thing you could do is lower inflation. Under Trump, the average blue-collar wage went up for the first time in 30 years. It was 12%. It went up. And inflation was under 2% his whole time. Biden, it's the opposite. The average blue-collar guy lost 6% in wages, and inflation's been at 25%. So if you're a Christian, if you're an evangelical Christian, you need to register to vote. And you need to vote Republican, write down a ticket. So when Trump wins, he's got the House and the Senate that can enact these. And if they stab us in the back and don't give us what we want, then we vote him out next time. But we had 4 years of him. We've seen what he did. It's like J.D. Vance, what's Trump's plan? Trump's plan is his record. Look at his record. Look at Harris's record. For Christian values, we crush them. For economic growth, we crush them. For world peace, we crush them. Every issue, life was way, way better under Donald J. Trump. So that's my 2 cents. And I love you guys. I know we debate doctrine and stuff, but I accept you as my brothers and sisters in the Lord. And I know many evangelical Christians that are better Christians than I am. And, I strive to be as good as a Christian as you. And that's my honest honest opinion. But I am Catholic for a reason. And, watch my channel and you'll see some of the reasons. So God bless, and vote Trump.